You know, as the president of a company that's growing more than 100% a year, learning how to do what we do better every day isn't just a good idea, it's a non-negotiable. Have to do it. To stay competitive today, we've got to do more with less faster than ever before. And today, we're going to dig deep into where my head's at and where a lot of our colleagues and our customers' heads at as we try to discover how to be better as engineers, as designers, and delivering value to our end customer. So, if you all wouldn't mind giving a hand and help me welcome Douglas Ferguson from Voltage Control. Douglas, great to have you at 80 Squared. Yeah, so truth be told, to our audience here, Douglas and I have known each other for the last couple years. We've been discussing on what we're going to do together, and I've been learning and being mentored by you. I look forward to talking here a little bit later on about your new book, Beyond the Prototype. But let's take the tape back a little bit. Help our audience know a little bit more about you. Tell us your story about how you ended up from start in your career to here.
Sure. So I'll take it way back. I grew up in Southern Virginia in tobacco country. Both my parents grew up on tobacco farms. I was the first generation to go to college. And in high school, I was programming. I wrote some software for my father to help him in his career at the power plant. He had actually started shoveling coal at the power plant, worked his way up, took correspondence courses to be an engineer, and became a turbine specialist. And so they had some interesting calculations and things they were doing when they were having outages. And so I was just learning BASIC at the time, and I thought,
how old were you?
I was 14 at the time.
14.
Yeah, that's why.
Self-taught code writer.
Yeah. Well, I think I first learned how to code from programming magazines at the age of 13. But that was mostly just copying like code into BASIC and creating pictures of Frankenstein and silly stuff. But so when I went to college, I just had such a passion for computers that I didn't think I wanted to do it for a living. I thought it might kind of ruin it for me. And so instead I studied math, biology, and chemistry. And about a year into the lab, I realized that this is not for me, and started working for startups. And at that point, I was bitten by the startup bug. I had seen the big kind of corporate world and realized that it kind of wasn't for me to be a cog in the machine. I wanted to be creating, innovating, pushing the boundaries. And my second startup was a startup here in Austin. They moved me from...
So you were in Virginia, you went to school. Where did you go to school?
Virginia Tech.
Okay, so Virginia Tech, and you find yourself now in Austin.
That's right, and I was working with a company called Coremetrics, and we had some amazing tech for analyzing web traffic, and had brought on the world's largest retailers like Walmart and Victoria's Secret, etc. And along came this company Omniture, and they had a better user experience and started just clawing away our customers. And even as they were leaving, our customers would tell us that our reports were deeper, our capabilities were stronger, our tech was so much more solid, but they had managed to build something that met the need and was so much more delightful to use. And so they were just kind of stealing customers away from us. And as a young engineer, that really stuck with me.
That was frustrating, I'd imagine.
Well, it was frustrating from a business sense, but from just a understanding and learning moment around how the world works. It was really empowering because it was kind of enlightening me to kind of how to think about things rather than just being obsessed with the technology and how it works. We also need to think about the market and the design. And so is there appetite for this technology? And also, have we built it in a way that people will embrace it? And so that really influenced the rest of my career. And as I became a CTO and started to launch my own startups, I would build engineering and product organizations with that mindset of this three-legged stool. How do we balance all three of these? And
the design, marketing, and engineering.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I like to tell the story around, when we think about market-driven products, that might be the Mach 7 razor, right? It's like do we really need that many
many
racers?
blades,
And
yeah.
like, but they found some emotion that they could tie into and build this thing that people would purchase.
Right.
And then if we look at engineering-driven products, I think Google's a great example, right? It's very functional, it gets the job done, but do we really fall in love with Gmail? Not really.
Yeah.
But Apple is an awesome design-forward company where they build stuff people fall in love with. You know, people look at the old way of doing things, and then the iPhone comes out, and it's like, this is a
Have to
game
have
changer.
one,
Yes.
right.
And, you know, sure, Android's great as well, but I think Apple, just from a design aesthetic, has been able to, like, really push the envelope over the years. And it's questionable if they're still doing that, but they're very design-forward. And I'm a big fan of trying to balance all three of those. It's very difficult to do, especially in the early stages of a company, because you may be limited as far as how many people you can hire, but just being intentional about which you're going to invest in first, and then thinking about where your deficiencies are as you build a team.
So you're the CTO for a period of time.
Yeah.
And in this time, what does that look like as far as the execution of this thought process about how to approach design? What did that look like then, and take us through that evolution to where you're evangelizing today?
Sure. So there's a few different aspects. One is how we design the systems that impact how we build things.
Right.
So I like to refer to that as our employee experience. So how do we meet? What is our meeting culture? How do we make decisions? What process do we follow? What artifacts are we creating at any point in our journey, or our, let's say, our arc of building what we're building? Mm-hmm. And then the other aspect would be customer experience. So how are we building things into the product to meet our customer needs, and how are we treating our customers through support systems, et cetera? And kind of balancing those two things is really important from a design standpoint. And then also looking at designing the team. So as we think about the next hire, or if we lose a member of the team, which is, I think one pitfall a lot of people fall into is like, oh, we lost Tony, now we need to hire another Tony. And instead, maybe we survey the landscape and say, well, now that we have this void, what's the best way to fill that, rather than trying to replicate this individual we had previously.
So what did that do for you in the role that you were at? I mean, you're still the CTO. I guess what I'm looking for is, here's what I did before, what that looked like. Here's what I discovered and I started to doing, and here's why that was better.
Sure. So, you know, it's kind of difficult to pinpoint one moment, because I'm a huge fan of small batch iterative work, and so it's always been, oh, here's this thing that needs to be repaired, let's go repair that. And so I feel like every day is an opportunity to learn something new and implement some new thing. And so I've also been a big fan of process. And so voracious reader and kind of consumer of like how different people are doing things. And so we started off with extreme programming, and then that moved into the agile. Big fan of the agile manifesto. I think a lot of people get hung up on agile from the standpoint of, oh, here's a bunch of rituals we should follow. Oh, this company is having success with doing these 5 things. Let's go do those 5 things. But getting down to the principles and the purpose, like why those things work, helps us adapt them into our company. So I guess it's to me it's been really powerful to apply these techniques we learn in software development, you know, like abstraction and single purpose use and these things, and adaptability. And so then taking these modular approaches to how we build teams and how we think about the way we do things.